How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be talking about my first free hit draft. Yes, it's finally the last game week of the season, sadly or happily, depending on how your FPL season's been going. However, the fact of the matter is we are finally using our final chip here, the free hit on game week 38. In this video we'll be talking about my initial choices of players, as well as some tips for you guys when making these free hit sides that can get you the most points as possible. So a lot of content coming this week. Hopefully you guys join me throughout it, and then I'll see you for that final deadline stream coming up later on in the week. So as I said, the deadline with Dayvy live stream, we will definitely be having one this week because it is the final week of the FPL season, as well as the free hit is being used. So we're going to be looking for those leaked final team sheets that hopefully will come about. As you know, on the final game week of the season, all teams play at the exact same time, so hopefully we get a lot of team news before the fixtures and the deadline actually takes place, so that'll be quite profitable, especially when we on that free hit. So hopefully I see you guys there. The one thing that I also am considering doing is doing a live stream after the fixtures on Sunday, just to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of where we finished in the rank, as well as a little bit of a celebration, as I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you that have actually won your mini leagues, and I think that's a cause for celebration with a lovely stream to finish off the season. But let's get into some of the talking points. So the first talking point and the tip I wanted to give you guys, the most important tip, is there are still a lot of games to take place this week. We have the likes of Man United, Man City, Liverpool, all those players still have to play. So my suggestion for you would just be to go with the price rises. Don't take players out that you're not 100% sure that you're going to want to have them back. If they're the same price as they are currently selling, that's perfectly fine, you can do that. But I would suggest just go with the price rises. Use whatever site you do, whatever website, FPL tool tells you when the players are going to have their price rise. Use that and then just monitor the situation. I would recommend just doing this. As I said, a lot of games still to take place, and at least this way with the free hit, you can make players that you could potentially want just a little bit cheaper, even though we don't really know our final squad selection. The other free hit cheap code that actually happened last night was that Brandon Williams actually went down in price. He is currently 3.8, which I think makes him one of the cheapest players in FPL. So you know what happens on free hits. You basically have the cheapest bench possible. The nice thing about Williams is there still is a chance that he's going to be playing in that final game against Leicester. And now a lot of people have been saying, why would you want another Man United option that's not guaranteed to start when they have such better options? But that's the thing on the free hit. I don't know if I'll be looking at Man United too much. Some of their players do look quite good still, but I don't know if I'll be tripling up, especially because they do face Leicester. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an indication here of a cheap code, a little bit of a play on words on cheat code there, because of those of us on a free hit, I'm pretty sure all of us will be having Brandon Williams third on our bench. So let's get in and look at my first draft. So this is the draft. I'm going to be running through it. Now please keep in mind that this is not going to be the final team selection. I'll be uploading the final team selection later on in the game week, probably about Friday, and then obviously the deadline stream will be the final team. I just wanted to go over a set structure here of what I think the free hit's going to look like and what teams you should be targeting. You can take the squad completely rotated. I'm going to be mentioning the differences that you could make and the potential players to downgrade, but I just wanted to give you guys a framework to work with this early on, as with those price rises we want to take most advantage out of them and get those players in that we really are going to want. So starting off on goal, I think a popular decision is going to be Nick Pope, obviously the current leader for the Golden Glove, so I'm pretty sure Burnley and himself are going to be really trying to go for a clean sheet, so he could be an option. I've just opted for Martinez here, as Arsenal have a favourable fixture in that final game week, and Martinez has been playing relatively well, making a couple of saves there, getting us those save points, and he just comes in so cheap that I think I really favour having Martinez and then a Burnley outfielder instead of Nick Pope and then an Arsenal defender, if you know what I'm saying. So Martinez comes in, and then obviously Button is just for that cheap second enabler. The defense is where I think a lot of people are going to vary on their free hit decisions. So I've seen some people opt for a triple up in that Burnley defense because obviously, as I said, they're going for that Golden Glove for Nick Pope, and even Chris Wood came out in a post-match conference and said that they're going to be raring to go for that clean sheet. They're going to be fighting hard for him. So I do think that Burnley triple up could be a nice option to go for. I, however, do think Brighton have been looking quite good recently, and from an attacking point of view, they're a very attacking side recently. So I think Burnley are going to be under quite a lot of pressure, and that's why I'm not really favouring a double up or a triple up. But that, however, could change. And maybe if I want to take down Alexander-Arnold, I could also go to maybe someone like Tarkowski, and that could be a good decision. So my defense currently, Brandon Williams and Tanganga will be on the bench, and then Peters, Alexander-Arnold, and Aurier will be starting. Now with the Burnley defender, you basically just choose one and hope they do as well as they have been. You can go for someone like Kevin Long, he's really cheap, or as I said, Tarkowski, he's also a good option, and then Bardsley on the other fullback side from Peters is also looking quite good. So just pick your player. They're all relatively cheap, especially the fullbacks, so just whoever you can afford or want, just go for them. Just monitor the injury situation there, as I think with Peters, he's only playing because the other fullback is injured. So if that fullback comes back, maybe Peters could be on the bench again. I think it's Taylor that's currently injured. And then with Alexander-Arnold, I've still kept him. So this draft is currently, it's quite differential, but also very safe. So Alexander-Arnold is a player that a lot of FPL managers do own. I still think he's got a good attacking threat. I think the Chelsea game will give us a good indication. The only thing I worry about with Alexander-Arnold is that whole Neco Williams situation. So Neco Williams, the youngster, his natural position is the same as Trent Alexander-Arnold. So we could see him maybe play against Newcastle, which is why that team sheet is going to be really good. And I'm pretty sure the Liverpool team sheet will be out because it is such a popular club, and I think they've got a lot of journalists there. So Alexander-Arnold, we will know if he's going to start or not, but I still think a good option against Newcastle. And our Newcastle recently haven't been playing that well, so I think from a defensive point of view, that's a good plus. And also obviously his attacking threat is also quite good, so that's why I've kept him in the squad. But he is an easy downgrade if you don't want him. Then I've Serge Aurier because of Spurs' fixture against Crystal Palace. Now Crystal Palace did play better against the likes of Manchester United, but I still think they're not in the best form currently, and Spurs have been defending quite well. They're coming off a good result against Leicester, so that could be something that you look for. And then with Serge Aurier, likes to get forward, recently hasn't had that many attacking returns, but I still just have him in my squad because I've had him from the previous game weeks, and I still think he could be a good option. The midfield is quite interesting this week, and I think also a lot of people are going to vary. The one thing I wanted to let you guys know is that you have to have a Man City triple up. They are playing Norwich. I think it's going to be an absolute whitewash there. So I do think a Man City option is very critical, and to have 3 is almost essential if you are free hitting. And then I also would go for the captaincy on them. Now that Man City team sheet is probably going to be the most prized gold that we've had this FPL season, because basically that's going to give us an indication of who's going to start. Now I've got my 3 predictions here. Also Phil Foden, because he's so cheap, I can't afford anyone else, so we'll just say that he's going to be starting. But David Silva is the player that I think will definitely start because it is his final game for Man City. I think with him, he's basically guaranteed almost to get a goal. I kind of feel like this game against Norwich is going to be, if you guys did play football as a child or still, it's that drill where you line up on the edge of the box and your coach kind of fires balls at you and you just shoot from outside the box the whole time. I think that's going to be what David Silva's afternoon against Norwich is going to be like. So I do think he's going to do quite well. I think he could even be a captaincy option, just because on the final game weeks of his season, especially when it's the player's final game for that club, they're usually quite special. The other player I've opted for, Phil Foden. As I said, he's the cheapest option I could afford from them because I have gone with Gabriel Jesus up front. Now if Gabriel Jesus doesn't start, we could easily change Foden for maybe Mahrez, and then I would look for going with a 5 in midfield with the likes of Sterling accompanying them. The rest of the midfield is Salah. So Salah, a nice safe option to go for against Newcastle. Now I don't think Salah's going to be getting that golden boot, but I still think he can do quite well. Overall, Liverpool usually do quite well in the final game week, so I think Salah could be a good option as well. And then obviously Martial. Now Martial, you could go for Fernandes or whatever. You could even go for Pogba as a nice differential punt, but I think Martial is the best option out of that midfield. I could still afford Fernandes. I think Fernandes is a safer option to go by just because of his ownership, but I think Martial's the better option, and I don't think I'm going to be going for too many Manchester United attackers. Even though Leicester lost 3-0 against Spurs, I just think that other players with better fixtures than Leicester. But Martial is still good enough here, playing out of position at that striker position. So I do think he's still a good option. And then obviously Hayden is just a cheap enabler. Up front is where things get quite exciting. I've opted for quite premium assets. We've gone for Kane, Aubameyang, and Jesus. Jesus I've already spoken about. There could be some rotation there, so he could fall out. But then with Aubameyang and Kane, I think they're definitely going to be starting. Kane has come off a little bit of form recently. 2 goals against Leicester. I think it's worth the punt to go for him because of how bad Crystal Palace have been defensively. I know against Manchester United, they looked a little bit stronger, but I also think that was due to the fact that United were a little bit tired. And I think with the rest that Kane's going to be having, it's almost like a week rest before he plays that Crystal Palace game. I think he can still do quite well. You could also look at Son if you want maybe a cheaper option in the midfield to go by. And then Aubameyang, obviously we saw what he did in the FA Cup against Man City. I think he looks on good form, and with those final 2 games that Arsenal do have, I still think that they're going to be trying and playing their best, because I think they're going to be building on next season. So if they finish this season quite strong, I think that's going to be a good kind of indication of what they're going to be doing next season. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be playing Aubameyang because they want him to stay at the club. So this is basically the team that I'm set out for now. I'm pretty sure it's going to change. I think it's going to even change once we get those team lineups, but I think it is still worth planning ahead, especially when we have this free hit. There's going to be players that do make their transfers and managers that make their transfers, so we could see some price rises. So just make sure you're on top of that, and otherwise I'll check you guys in the preview and the team selection coming on later in the week. So this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Link your drafts down below and what differentials you also are considering. Please like the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.